Hello and welcome back to my channel. My name is Taylor and today is the February reading wrap-up. So I read 9 books in the month of February. I am so excited to share all these with you. I had a really good reading month. I'm very happy with the books that I read, and let's just hop in. Don't forget to give this video a big like and subscribe to the channel for more content like this, and we'll hop in. So the first book that I finished this month was Sally Rooney's Beautiful World, Where Are You? If you saw my Get Ready With Me, I did about a 20-minute video talking all about this book. It does have some spoilers in there. I gave this book a 4 stars. I didn't fall in love with it the way I did with Normal People by Sally Rooney, but I thought that this book was very good. It's very insightful. It kind of just talks about the trials and tribulations of getting older and being in your late 20s, and it pegs the question like, what do you want with your life and where do you want to go? What kind of relationships do you want to be in? And I just thought it was beautiful. So it's just about these 4 people and kind of their relationships. If you know Sally Rooney's books, it's vibes only. The next book I read was The Virgin Suicides by Jeffrey Eugenides, and I gave this book 3 stars. I know that this pops up a lot on like hot girl, coquette type of book talk stuff, and it makes me wonder if people have actually read this book. I had higher expectations for this book, and it's interesting, and maybe I'm just a girly who doesn't get it, and that's kind of, I know I say that for other popular books that like I just don't rate as highly, but I didn't feel connected to this book. It's told from the point of view of the boys who live across the street from the girls who unalive, and it just really felt, I don't know, it would have been interesting to see what it would have been like being in the heads of one of the girls who was a part of the family, I think, for me. Or maybe like a dual POV type thing. This book just didn't hit for me, I guess, is kind of what I'm getting at. But I do really want to read Jeffrey Eugenides' other book, Middlesex, that is like super popular, so yeah. Next book I read was Any Who I Love You. This is a poetry kind of compilation by Samantha King Holmes, R.H. Sin, and Graham Holmes. I have read work from R.H. Sin before, and I actually really wasn't all that impressed. But when I picked up this book, it's so raw, and it is so loving and tender. And so R.H. Sin and Samantha King Holmes are married, and Graham Holmes is their child. And just like the photos of the trips that they've been on, and just like the love that they share, I thought that the poems were just so much more fleshed out. I feel like they had a lot of like character to them in a way that like the other book I read by him, I just like really wasn't impressed by. They were very much like kind of tweet poems, that very like Tumblrification of poetry type stuff that I'm personally not as into. But I gave this one 4 stars. I think this is really good. This is really just, it's a beautiful celebration of love. And that's kind of what I have to say about that one. The next book I read, I listened to this one on an audiobook, but I do own a physical copy, was The Year of the Flood, which is Mad Adam #2. I rated this one 4 stars. So the first book follows Jimmy, who is also called like Snowman. And then this book follows 2 different POVs. One is named Ren and one is named Toby, and they used to belong to this religion called the God's Gardeners. And basically it's told in this dual timeline, kind of like the other book, where there's the before when they're with the God's Gardeners, and then there's the after the waterless flood, which is the thing that happens at the end of Oryx and Crake. I liked this book. I gave it 4 stars. It just didn't hit like Oryx and Crake did, but I don't know, I thought it was really interesting to kind of see. I think Toby is such an interesting character because she joins the God's Gardeners, but she's like, but I'm like removed from it. Like, I don't truly believe in this stuff. But yet she stays with them for many years, becomes a very high-ranking person in their like Adam and Eve hierarchy stuff. She's still like in like the after, she's like, she still upholds the views of the people in the God's Gardeners, which I think like you're kind of entrenched in it then, like you are a God's Gardener. But yes, still just like kind of masterful. I think it's really interesting to see and be in the minds of people who were like in these very like religious spaces. And God's Gardeners, it's like, I wouldn't say strict, because like you can leave whenever you want. It's not one of those things where like you leave and you're gonna get nixed, I guess. But yeah, it was interesting. It just wasn't, to me, as interesting as the first book, Orcs and Crake. The next book I read, also on audiobook, was The Divorce Colony by April White. This is a nonfiction book that chronicles 4 stories of 4 women who go to South Dakota in the late 1800s searching for divorce. And they all do it for very different reasons. These are all women of very high society who are, you know, seeking divorce. And the reason why Sioux Falls was so attractive to these women at the time was because South Dakota, when it became a state, had some of the most lax and progressive divorce laws of the entire country. But it's interesting because you could get a divorce in South Dakota, but it might not be like honored in, say, like New York. And so it's just so interesting to me. There's a lot of online rhetoric about, you know, the downfall of marriage and women are ruining marriages and all this stuff. But we've been having that conversation for over a century then, because there were also articles in the newspaper in the late 1800s because the clergy, the really popular church in Sioux Falls at the time, they did not like the divorce colony. They put out a statement that was like, hey, if you're a woman here looking to get a divorce, don't come to our church. And so it's a conversation that has always been around, and I don't know, I just think it's really interesting. I did rate this a 5 stars because I wanted it to kind of be bumped in the Goodreads algorithm. The next book I read was Throne of Glass by Sarah J. Maas. I really don't know what I expected this book to be, but it just wasn't. I didn't think that the trials was going to be the whole book because it is such a small portion of this book. Like, yeah, she goes and does her trainings and all this stuff, but like the tests are so not important to the larger story at hand. And so I'm interested to see kind of where it goes in the second book. And I don't know, I just like, I've never really gotten a spoiler for a Sarah J. Maas book other than the second Crescent City book. And so, I don't know, I give this one 3 stars. I just felt like it wasn't as interesting as the prequel novellas, but I'm going to keep going with the series. The next book I read was Powerless by Elsie Silver. I gave this book a 4 stars. This is Jasper and Salone's story. I thought that this was really good. I really enjoyed it. Friends to lovers is not my favorite trope because I don't like the thought that, you know, I've just liked you for so long, but we never did anything. Because I don't know, it sets up this premise that Jasper has like never had a crush on her, but then like kind of halfway through the book it switches up and it's like, oh, well, like, yeah, I've always liked her, duh. And it's like, what? But regardless, the couple's cute. They're fine. I thought this book was really cathartic because I really liked our main female character. I really, really, really liked Sloane. I think that her coming into her own power, and I really like that like her and Winter become friends. So, like, I'm really excited to read Winter's book and kind of see how that goes. But I could tell, and this is just my own speculation, so like take this with a grain of salt, but it very much felt like Elsie Silver might have been using this book as a catharsis for someone else that she wanted to yell at, and I am here for it. I love it. I love when women just like go off on people who have wronged them. Because people are going to call you crazy anyway. If you're a woman and you have an opinion and it's not this happy, sunshine, bright thing, people are going to call you crazy. So you might as well just act crazy. And I wouldn't even say that Sloane in this book was acting crazy. I think that everything she did was warranted. It's not even like she did anything. She just spoke her mind. But Anyway, 4 stars for this. Love the Chestnut Spring series. I'm excited to keep going. Next book I read was Cultish, The Language of Fanaticism. I think this book was not what I was expecting because it specifically, I mean, this tagline is very much what the book is about. It is about how culty type things use language to kind of reel you in, and how everything is kind of like a lifestyle now. So the first thing that they really kind of like talk about is like gyms. So let's think like CrossFit or like hot yoga, like whatever exercise that you decide to subscribe to, that becomes like a part of your personality. You go to spin class and you have like a very, what's the word? Kind of parasocial relationship with your spin instructor, and like your spin instructor wears Lululemon, and then all the other girls who are in your spin class wear Lululemon, so then you go out and buy Lululemon, and like kind of what these mean. And they do talk about Jonestown and Heaven's Gate a little bit, and I don't know, I thought it was an interesting book. It's nonfiction. Sorry, I should say that. But I gave it 4 stars. I thought it was good. And the last book that I read in February was Mad Adam by Margaret Atwood. It is the 3rd and final book in the Mad Adam trilogy. This book, 5 stars. I thought that it was like a really good way to like tie up the series. It's not all up in a little bow. So, I mean, if you read Margaret Atwood, she has some more ambiguous endings, but I really liked the way that this book ended. I thought it was really beautiful. It really like hopeful, because I feel like the other 2 books, they kind of had this feeling of like hopelessness, whereas this book very much kind of felt hopeful for the future. And then the ending of it just such, I don't want to say like mind-bending, but I don't know, Margaret Atwood, just like to be in that woman's head and to see all these different things, it just, a really good trilogy. If you like dystopian fiction and you haven't read anything by Margaret Atwood, I don't know what you're doing. Because we have The Handmaid's Tale, which everybody, I mean, everyone knows about that one, but I feel like this is a trilogy that maybe isn't talked about as much. At least I've never seen it on an online space be talked about. And I feel like more people should read it. If you like dystopian fiction, check out the Mad Adam trilogy by Margaret Atwood. Chef's Kiss. Love it. It's a 5-star series for me. So that is everything that I read in February. I'm really excited to hop on to my March TBR and see what I end up reading for the month of March. So yeah, if you like that video, don't forget to give it a like and subscribe to the channel. Leave a comment down below what you're currently reading or what you want to read for March, and I will see you guys next time. Bye!